Hey everyone, and welcome to the Retro channel. This is the Amiga 1000 that I started looking at a couple of months ago on the channel, and since then I've been distracted by other things, but I think it's finally time to get this thing, hopefully, back up and running. So if you like, check out the previous video on this machine, but I actually had to go back and watch it myself because I totally forgot where I was up to with this thing. The first thing that needs to be done is to put some replacement safety caps in the power supply. So I do have the replacement X and Y class caps. So I'll get those put in the power supply, and then we'll take a look and see if we can get anything else other than a black screen out of this thing. Now I realize that I have forgotten to order a replacement capacitor that I was going to put in here. This one I did pull out on the last video and it tested quite low. I think it's a 470 microfarad and it was testing around 350, I think. So eventually I'm going to have to come back in again and replace that cap. But for now, we'll just get these replacement X and Y class capacitors in there. Bit of a tight fit next to this connector, but it's fine. Alright, so we've got our 0.47 X2 class capacitor installed and our two Y2 class, I think they're 6.8 nanofarad, 0.0068 microfarad. I think that's 6.8 nanofarad. There and there, everything seems good. Yeah, I'll deal with the electrolytic later, but it seemed to work fine last time, so I'm not too concerned. Now, one of these screws has a white marker around the silk screen, and the only screw that has a different washer from the rest is this one. It seems to have a nylon washer, so I'm guessing that one is supposed to go there. This whole machine pretty much came with all the screws removed, so I don't actually know if any of these screws are the right ones or where they're supposed to go, but these seem correct. Yeah, it literally just came with a bag of screws. Let's get back to troubleshooting this thing. Now, at the end of the last video, I just had a black screen, and at the time I still had this mod board installed. So this was going to mostly to U6N, which is this IC here. And I think the idea behind it is so that you could load your own Kickstart from ROM, because the A1000 doesn't have Kickstart ROM built in. But the ROMs were missing. This machine only came with these two ROMs, which look like diagnostic ROMs. And there were a couple of little bits of paper, which I think have now vanished, that had labels for what looked like Kickstart ROMs. I had a look around online and couldn't find any copy of that. I did also ask people in the previous video if they knew anything about it, and no, not much luck there. So the main suggestion was just to remove this mod and go from there. So that's what I've done, and hopefully this thing will now give us more than a black screen. The other little modification is, yeah, as I suspected, an audio filter. So this was soldered onto U6H. So it pretty much disables the, I think it's 7 kilohertz low pass filter on the Amiga 1000. Again, all the other Amigas have this enabled or disabled in software, but the A1000 is hardwired to have that low pass filter set to on. But there's other modifications you can do to turn it off. So both these mods are out for now. Let's power this thing on again and see what happens. Alright, let's see. Fan is spinning. Black screen again. Oh, hang on. It is now asking for the Kickstart disk, and I can hear the disk drive clicking away. Now, in preparation, I asked good mate Randall, who's also a supporter of the channel, if he could make a couple of Kickstart and Workbench discs, which he did. So let's throw in the Kickstart disk and see what happens. Workbench. Let's throw in the workbench disc. It seems the disk drive works as well, which is awesome. I kind of expected this not to work, but there we go. Amiga DOS version 1.3. It's quite loud though. Booting. I'm gonna need a mouse or a keyboard or something. No idea if this mouse works. It's not one of the original Amiga 1000 mice. They have like a right angle connector, so this would be for a later machine, but plug it in. Mouse is moving. Nice. Sweet. Not much free memory, but I don't have the RAM expansion installed, so I guess that's expected. Keyboard, probably a good idea. Whoa, hang on. What? What's this thing I've got in? The keyboard literally has one screw in it. But something weird has happened. Probably because the return key's stuck down. Oh, there we go. Alright, cool. Probably should try out this RAM expansion card and see if that works. Alright. And I can see why people want to avoid doing this every time they boot the machine. Yeah, here we have 362K of free memory, so looks like the RAM expansion card works. Sweet. Alright, so I've just been going through and trying to figure out which keys are not responding, and so far I found a few, but the keyboard is kind of gummy, so some of the keys get stuck down. But a weird thing I did find is when swapping around some of these cables, this one causes the machine not to boot at all. I just get that black screen. It could have been that the machine was working before with that weird modification and it was the keyboard cable that was causing the issue, because if I unplug this one, give it a few seconds and the machine should start to boot. You can see it change to a dark, very dark grey screen. There we go. So yeah, if you're having issues with your Amiga 1000, maybe just double check your keyboard cable or just unplug it and see if it starts working. I ordered I think 5 of these and I don't think, yeah, the wiring looks the same in all of them, so it's not an issue with that, but there's something up with this cable. Plug this one in and it shouldn't reboot. Okay, before I go any further, I'm just going to pull the keyboard apart, clean it out, and then we'll continue. So, we have one screw holding this together. Story of this machine. In fact, I got the machine separately from the keyboard because the machine didn't come with a keyboard, and I don't know, something about screws. People just don't want to put screws back in, I guess. But it seems the keyboard mostly works, so that's good. They're just a challenging machine to get hold of, especially one in, you know, full, complete condition, it would seem. Okay. Just going to lift out. Yes. Right, well, at least that's going to be easy to clean. Do the keycaps just pop off? Yes. I think all the key switches on these things are actually like soldered on the other side of the board. In fact, I can see just through that gap that they are. So if I wanted to clean the key switches, I'd have to desolder all of them from the board. Don't think I'm going to do that somehow unless I have to. So I might just pop all the keycaps off and give the case and the keycaps a clean, and maybe try and spray a little bit of not deoxit, because I don't have deoxit, but a bit of contact cleaner / lubricant stuff in there. Where's my keycap? Now, I'm not sure if any of these keys have stabilizer bars under them. Spacebar obviously does, even though it doesn't seem to work very well. That shift key does, as does that one, as does the enter key on this side, and that shift key, and that one. So yes, they all have stabilizer bars, so a little bit more of a challenge to pull off, but get there. So I think the spacebar is missing one of these little things that holds the stabilizer bar in place. Maybe that's why it was so wobbly. This one doesn't want to come out, so it's just going to stay in. As long as it doesn't get lost, that's all I'm worried about. May as well give the mouse a wash while I'm at it. Alright, so the keyboard and mouse got a scrub in some warm soapy water. The keys themselves showed up pretty good. The case, on the other hand, there's still some scuffs here and there, and I realized it's missing a foot as well. I don't think I have any square feet, but I'm sure I'll source one somewhere. The main thing I want to focus on is the keyboard itself. So there were a couple of key switches I found that didn't work. I know A is located here, so I guess I'll focus on that one. But yeah, I'll give this a quick dust off just to get any loose dirt off it. And then I might hit it with some WD-40 just to stop any of this rust from spreading. There's nothing else that I can really do apart from desoldering all the keycaps and then, you know, sanding back and repainting this metal plate, but I'm not going to go that extreme. And it looks almost exactly the same. Ta-da! I'll just go over it with some IPA real quick just to get any loose dirt off. Alright, so that's clean enough. Let's throw on some WD-40. I'll just let it sit for a few minutes just to sort of penetrate some of that rust. See how that goes. Alright, I'm just going to leave that to soak for a little bit. Let's turn our attention to this mouse. So it's not too bad. There's a little bit of dirt in this side, so I'll just clean it up with some IPA and should be good to go. Can't forget the ball. What's the best way to clean your balls? Well, somebody on the internet suggested denim, and yeah, that does seem to do the trick. So this is the part that I've just rubbed on my jeans. So yeah, I might do that all over. If you'll excuse me for a minute. Well, that was kind of interesting. It's not perfect, but it certainly feels a lot grippier. So yeah, maybe denim is the way to go. Obviously don't use a good pair of jeans, but I think that did the trick. I do also like to go over the cable just with a cloth and some kind of detergent just to clean it up. There's no point having a nice shiny mouse and have a scummy cable attached to it. Just obviously be careful not to pull at any of the connections, you want to make sure you're taking the strain off as you go running the cable through the cloth. Still does have some of that blue marking, but at least it's cleaner. Feels pretty good. Now, back to that keyboard. Might just add an extra coat of WD-40. Seems to have dried out quite a bit. Alright, so it's about half an hour later. I kind of just left this, went off, had some lunch. It looks still shiny, so there's definitely still a film on this. I think really I need something more abrasive. And the problem with that is, if I wanted to use something more abrasive, it's going to create metal flakes and crap everywhere, and that's going to get into the key switches. So I think I'll just leave it as is and hope that the rust doesn't spread any further or go any deeper. Right, so I think I've got most of the WD-40 off. There's obviously going to be like a thin film of it over the keyboard, which is kind of good, I guess, because that should help protect it. So the next thing I want to do is sort out some of these keys that are not working. I'm going to start with the A key, and I think I'll try and remove this backing plate because there are a few screws that hold it in. That should give us access to the circuit board at the back. And inside we have a MOS 6500 from the 13th week of 86 and a 556 timer. And a plastic shield. So let's try and locate this A switch. I think this one is our A key. Let's see if I can push it from the other side. And it is not registering anything. Let's try the one next to it, which should be S. And yeah, as I push the key, so it's got 6.3K, and when I push the key, that drops to, if the multimeter will stabilize, somewhere, well, under 100 ohms. These solder joints look fine. Let's spray a little bit of contact cleaner in there. This is the ChemTools Contact Cleaner Lubricant. See how that goes. Just try and work it in there a little bit. Now it doesn't seem to be doing anything again. Let's desolder that key, pull it out, see if it does anything different. Right, so with the A key removed from the board, it just reads as open the whole time. Nothing seems to work. Let's see if we can pop this open. I think that's it. We're going to try and spring out. Oh, there is a spring in there, but it's stayed in. So there's a little spot there that pushes against a contact on the outside. So if we remove this part, what should happen is this part gets pushed against something under here. Almost looks like it's missing something. So that top part is connected to this side, to this leg, and then there's usually something around this area so that when you push down on the key, that should connect it to the other leg. It almost looks like there's something missing here. Let's pull out another switch. Right, here's our S key. Let's open it up. It looks exactly the same. That doesn't help us. Right, I see. So there's a little sort of almost copper pad in the back of there. So pushing this down at the front here actually pushes down a little bit of plastic, which I guess then forces that copper pad in the back to connect these two plates. On the A key, I can see the copper pad is there. And I can see that it moves when I push this sort of springy part in. So why doesn't that create a connection between these 2 points? It does. So the issue doesn't seem to be with this part of the key switch. And now it appears to be working. Figure that out. The only thing that's not there is this lid. I really doubt that's going to make the difference. No, all of a sudden it's working now. Go figure. Just like the A key, the C key is not registering at all. Nothing. The contact cleaner does nothing. So I think I'm just going to have to desolder these keys, pull them apart, clean them out. Well, not even clean them out. Like I didn't do anything to the A key and it just decided to start working again. So let's see what happens this time. At least I'm getting good at pulling these things apart. Yeah, so the contact cleaner really needs to get down into this point here. It just doesn't seem to be possible without the shell on. Still nothing. So even dousing this thing with contact cleaner with the cap removed still doesn't work. So I guess if you've got keys like this that are not registering at all, you may just have to pull them completely apart. And it would seem just the simple act of pulling them apart and sticking them back together is enough to get them going again. So I went ahead and reassembled the keyboard. Now the spacebar is still missing that stabilizer clip, so it's a little bit wonky, but it'll do for now. The return key is a bit annoying though, because it just gets stuck down. It is a bit strange. I'll just try and pop this off without messing up anything. So under the return key is this little white, almost like fake key switch. What I'm thinking is maybe, I don't know if this is supposed to act like a key as well. It seems to just be stuck down all the time. Come out. So yeah, the middle part doesn't spring back up like the rest of the keys. I mean, obviously it's got nothing inside it, but would have thought if they went to the trouble of putting that in there, is it supposed to spring out? In fact, it's kind of, I don't know. Let's open it up. No, it doesn't have a spring. So maybe I can put a little spring in there just to help the return key pop back up. I did spray some contact cleaner in the actual key switch, which is hidden under there, but that didn't seem to help. So spring. Alright, so went through the random box of springs and found this. It was longer than this, so I just clipped it off because don't want it to be too firm, otherwise the enter key won't feel right. But I'm thinking just that much spring may be enough to make everything happy. Doesn't feel too firm. See if it's enough to actually pop the return key back up though. That seems good. Maybe a little bit firmer than the other keys, but I'd rather have that than it getting stuck down all the time. All right, the only thing left to do is get this back in the case. Now, I also had a look around for some screws because there was only one screw for this, and I found 3 more that are very similar. The thread pitch seems to be the same. They're just the tiniest bit shorter than this screw, so it should work just fine. All right, good. Keyboard is now solid, back together. Spacebar, not so great. Oh, still needs a foot on that corner. I don't have any square feet though. Let's just go with one of these. As long as it's roughly the same height as the rest, that'll do. Solid. I am ready to computer. Alright, so with the peripherals sorted out, I think the only thing left to do is put all the screws back in this thing and button it all back up and give it a proper test. All I need to do is figure out which screw is supposed to go where. Alright, so the Amiga 1000 is back up and running. There are still a couple of keys that are not responding. I guess I didn't really thoroughly test all of them the first time, so I'll pull them out, give them a clean and stick them back together and they'll probably magically start working. It is hooked up by SCART, but there's no audio coming through the SCART cable. So yeah, not sure if it's just the cable that I'm using or perhaps the Amiga 1000 doesn't output audio over SCART. I'm not entirely sure. I guess I'll look into that. If you know for sure, leave a comment down below. Yeah, apart from that, everything seems to be pretty much working. The fan is a little bit noisy. It's got sort of a kind of like a wobble sound to it, so I'll have a look at that. But yeah, nothing to write home about really. Yeah, the SCART cable does have separate audio outputs being spat off at the side of it. Spat off, that's a bit weird. Split off at the side. But yeah, even these audio outputs from the SCART connector don't seem to do anything. I don't know. I'm just going to chill out with some lemmings for now. I'll worry about all that later, I think. So, as always, thank you all for watching. A massive thanks to the people that support the channel on Patreon. And I will catch you next time. I think future plans for this machine, I'll probably have an external Gotek and maybe kickstart in ROM. This machine already had these holes at the front here, so I might repurpose them. Maybe a switch for the external Gotek versus internal floppy, and another switch for internal versus external ROM. But I don't know. See what happens. For now, I'm chillaxing with this. Okay. Yeah.